Good evening everyone and welcome along to round number 7 of the Inside Line Racing League season here from the magnificent Montreal circuit. That brand new pit lane in front of us, well, it's been done up very nicely ahead of this year's event. I'm Ginger Andy and once again joining me in the commentary box we have James. Well, it was Monaco last week, James, you had a power cut. I was sadly watching Scotland get leathered again. But it was a great result for Veloce's Prize last week, taking the victory, and a good performance as well for João Pedro in second. But, not so good a day for Sierra, dropping back in the championship battle.
Absolutely, it was a race which, I think for Sierra was always going to be damaged an invitation. You said after Spain it wasn't a race he was expecting much from, because it's Monaco, and he uses a pad, and it's, some people say the worst combination of this game that you could possibly have. And fortunately for him, that was the day. He finished 5th, so he didn't really have I can't say that's an awful result, but certainly not the one that he was.
Oh, sorry there, I think I cut out there. My mic cut out briefly there, but I'm back. Apologies folks, I think my controller wasn't very well connected, but we are back. Sorry James, I didn't quite catch the end of that, and I don't think the viewers got quite the end what you said there. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically what I was just saying is Monaco and Sierra, he knew it wasn't going to be a good circuit for him because it's traditionally a wheel circuit, Monaco. He's on the pad of course, but a 5th place finish isn't a bad finish for him, especially around a circuit like Monaco.
Yeah, absolutely. You can there's more rotation in a wheel, so there's always more opportunity, to get the car turned in. It's not quite favourable for those guys on the pad, but it's incredible for Sierra to be so quick on a pad, isn't it, James? I don't think I've ever seen anyone as quick as that on a pad. Perhaps Josh was in his time before he moved on to a wheel, but there's very few drivers I've ever seen light up the Xbox League races on a pad the way he can. It is very, very special what he's capable of, isn't it?
Absolutely. The game will tell you that, it needs to be like the pad and the wheel, there shouldn't be any difference between them. And a lot of people watching it maybe for the first time would say the same thing, there shouldn't be any difference. But in reality, everyone knows the wheel is faster. It is faster on this game. Some conditions is a bit different. They need to find that balance of finding the true pace between the wheel and a pad, and unfortunately we just haven't had that thus far yet this season. There seems to be a bit of an issue going on with the lobby here. I don't want to put any money on it just yet. Yes, there is an issue with the lobby. I was absolutely correct, and yes, we're restarting. Right.
Okay.
Apologies, folks. We'll be back in a few moments, but we'll carry on talking.
Yeah,
sure, good to keep streaming, Andy,
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine to keep streaming. I'm just going to try and find someone that's out there using some of the track and getting an extra bit of time in, and Langman is out there at the moment, so let's actually go on board with Langman. Yeah, he's going to leave the lobby, isn't he? I was hoping that someone would take the opportunity.
Oh. I think Andy's playing mind games with his...
Yeah, you know what, and now I'm getting an error code as well. So actually, I'm going to continue the stream, but just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to change the cable that I'm using to charge my controller because it's having a little bit of a problem here. I don't want to miss any overtakes during the Grand Prix, so give me a few moments. In fact, I'm going to join the lobby first. In fact, I've not got an invite yet to join the lobby. So 2 seconds, folks. I'm just going to change this cable.
Meanwhile, we'll keep rambling on because we may be able to still hit. Oh, we'll wait till Andy's back. It's probably the best thing for us, isn't it?
There we go, James.
I don't want a party invite. Okay.
There we go. Hopefully that's okay now, and hopefully I don't have continuing issues. Hopefully this cable will be a little bit better. But yes, James, I don't actually know if you were being heard there by the viewers or not. But yes, we are now back with the action. Well, we hope to be back with the action pretty soon. No sign of an invitation just yet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this race pans out. Always exciting in ILR, and it's been great to see a championship battle thus far going throughout the season. It's been quite a ding-dong battle, James, hasn't it, between Surprise and Sierra. Sierra really is looking very strong this year, and as we just touched on previously, despite being on the pad, it's incredible what he can do. And that win in China a few races ago, it's a track he always loves, and he'll be looking to continue that fine form. TRL Limitless as well. Remember back to Spain last time we were both together in the commentary box, that crazy race in the wet conditions, an absolute cracker. And I'm pretty sure when we get back into the lobby for the Canadian Grand Prix, we will have another one. And James, in the past, we have enjoyed watching the Canadian Grand Prix in ILR, but they always serve up a cracker. It's always been a fantastic race. It's always been one of the more exciting races on the calendar where wacky and crazy things can happen. You've got the Wall of Champions, you've got that long back straight running up to the Wall of Champions. So many great overtaking opportunities.
There's a lot of great opportunities. You touched on Sarah there, and what you were saying is absolutely spot on. But I think for me, the key thing for him to really cement a championship fight this season is winning at the tracks that he's best at and winning at the tracks where he's not going to have a disadvantage at. Because as I said earlier on, there is a bit of a difference between the pad and the wheel, and people won't deny that. But he's got to make sure that in those races where perhaps the pad isn't as favourable as the wheel, that he's still making good points. And like last time out in Monaco, 5th place I think is a respectable result. You can look at that at the end of the season and go, well, I couldn't have done much more there with the circumstances he was in. So for that, I think that he's just got to focus on his own sort of season. There may be a championship battle, but this season is starting to remind me a little bit of the one that we had a few seasons ago when Surprise won the championship. And his first championship, and Joe was always there or thereabouts. He had the pace at times, but didn't have the consistency, it seemed, when it mattered most.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, again, overall with that wheel as well, and not just with the wheel in general, he is the quickest man I feel in the tier over the course, and so far it's shown that by picking up 4 wins in the opening 6 Grand Prix and backing that up with a couple of second places. But we mentioned it briefly at the top of the show, but we need to talk about BRL João Pedro. What a performance it was from him last time out to come home in 2nd place. I mean, if that's correct, because that's an incredible performance from him. 10th, 7th, 9th, and then a 2nd place, James. That's an astonishing effort.
Well, it just comes out of the blue, really, doesn't, for João Pedro. Like in Spain, he actually was the fastest guy on the medium tyres. It's Alphabal took pole position that day. Had Alphabal not been there, though, he would have been on pole position. And, recent races suggest that João Pedro is definitely not out of the fray to really help the Alfa Romeo team out. This could really be a squabble between the Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo for this, Constructors' Championship, but more so just helping each other out, really, in the Drivers' Championship as well. They've both got a sort of lead driver, if you will, in both teams, although they won't like me for saying that. There is definitely favourites in those two teams, but it's all about just getting those results and pinging them on the board when they can. And for Joe, who hasn't been at too many races this season, he's going to try and beat his teammate because he's that sort of driver, but he's also going to have to realise at the points where he may be able to help his teammate win the championship. Whether he does that or not is a different story.
Yeah, actually, I've just found out that I think the reason for the restart was Parc Fermé. I think Parc Fermé was accidentally set to off by accident. I think it was going to be a dry race anyway, but I think, just to be absolutely sure, they just wanted to make sure that everything was done correctly as to procedure. So, human error, these things happen from time to time, and that's why the session was restarted. It wasn't any glitching and things like that, which, James, gives us a little bit of encouragement because we don't want to have any people lagging into one another. That's the last thing we want.
I won't dive into the ILR archives, but we have had situations where Parc Fermé has been off, and we have had some abuse of the rules. Sorry, you're casting my mind back to, I think, Belgium last season where that was the case.
No. I
believe it was.
I think it was to do with tyre choices. I think that was tyre choices. I think that's what it was after a disconnection.
It was, yeah.
And there was some fallout about that. But I think since then we've cleared that one up. But I'm just going to quickly run through, in case anyone that's tuning in is brand new to ILR and haven't tuned in before. We've got the time in the main menu to just go through the teams and drivers since we've got that opportunity on the screens. There they are. Veloci Surprise and OMG, it's Joe. They're teaming up in the Mercedes. Ferrari VSR Drelex, the Canadian driver, at his home race, we should mention, this weekend. So good luck to Drelex. Let's see what he can do alongside VSR and Famous. Red Bull, you've got Zelchi and Pierre Gasly's AI. Don't worry, Pierre Gasly's AI will not be racing. We've got EVR Reynolds and Feisty Ted in the Reynolds. Nobody in the Haas at the moment. Kyle Mitchell and Snazzy Evening both in the McLaren. TRL Limitless and CRL Rosberg pairing up in the Racing Point. That's for the 2nd successive season, I believe, and they have been going really strongly together as a team this season. Alfa Romeo, as we mentioned, the two Brazilians earlier on, Cira and BRL João Pedro, looking very strong, arguably the strongest team in the grid, you could argue. Langman's the only man in the Toro Rosso, and the two Williams cars are filled by P1R Brown and WR Verstappen. But James, you've got to feel the three biggest teams there. Veloci surprise, OMG, it's Joe at Mercedes, probably the Racing Points of Limitless and Rosberg, as well as the Alphas of Cira and João Pedro. If you were a team principal, which of those three team lineups would you like?
I mean, straight up, I mean, it's a difficult one to call. It really is. Those top teams, very solid teams, and on their day, they really do on the game. The Racing Point team, for me, I said at the beginning of the season, they were going to be the dark horse going into it. I never thought they were going to win the Constructors' Championship, and they're not at the moment, but they've certainly been some. And Toro Rosso, of course, Toro Limitless has won in Spain as well. Just a few results where you look and you think, actually, they nailed it that day, and Racing Point are really good outfit. We're actually going to get underway for qualifying as well. We're finally going to get to see action on circuit as well.
Yeah, we are, and I'm somehow having more issues with this. This is becoming a bit of an annoyance. I'm going to try and change with a third cable now. This is not going well at all for any of us. Let's try once more with a separate cable while we wait on the loading screen here in Canada. It's been a scrappy start, it has to be said. 2 seconds.
Well, if they can all hear me, then we know Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that we're racing around today in Canada on a pretty much as a man-made island here. So it's technically speaking a street circuit, but we all know it isn't. It does look like a purpose-built racetrack. There are parts of it just because it's in the middle of a sort of man-made in the surrounding areas of the lake. It looks like a really cool venue to go to, Montreal. In this particular circuit, it does look pretty appealing to myself. We saw some controversy in the real-life Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Everyone will remember that, and everyone can have their own opinions on that. I personally didn't believe it was a penalty, but you know, we can't really have too much grudges on it. The race has been and gone now. It's pointless arguing about it, and I'm sure a lot of people will respect that. But we're finally getting underway for this 18-minute qualifying session, followed by the 50% race, of which I believe there's 39 laps of it.
Yeah, finally we're going to get underway. Second time lucky, hopefully. And we wait to see who the first man out of the pits will be. It looks like it's going to be one of the Alfa Romeos. So let's see which one it will be. Will it be João Pedro? Will it be Cira? It is Cira making his way out onto the racetrack to get qualifying underway for the second time. But, you know, we'll see what will happen over the course of the next 18 minutes. So, looks like he's going to go straight out on a set of soft compound tyres, and we know what that usually means, James. It usually means that is the tyres they will start the race on. If they go out on the hards or the mediums, it usually says, or they're waiting to the end of the session to try a different compound, but if they're going out in the softs, it means they'll probably be wanting to do quite a few laps because they get 3 sets of those to use up, don't they?
Absolutely they do, and this is, I've been told by a number of drivers, is actually possibly the best race of the season for a number of strategies. And in terms of a strategic race, this one has it all really. There's a lot of action always on the circuit with the 3 DRS zones, but there's also the choice of tyres. We know it's soft, medium, hard, but some people have got very different ideas on what they want to do on strategy here. So soft, medium can be done, but people tell me that is incredibly risky, and they probably you wouldn't expect to see many drivers go for that here today. The other option is they soft and the hard. That sort of strategy, which is more safe, people are telling me, but the other strategy that people are also throwing into the mix is the medium and the hard, just because of the durability of the tyre around here. Some people say it's quite good, others say it's a bit poor. The soft medium, by the way, it'd actually be a soft medium medium or a soft medium soft. It's a 2-stop. That strategy is a 2-stop. So if you see anyone going onto the medium tyres after they've been on softs, they probably will have to stop again. Don't expect them to go to the end of the race. So there is a lot of sort of variable in this one. Also, you've got to consider people outside the top 10 don't qualify. They don't start the race on the tyres they qualify on. So there's another additional benefit, I suppose, to this qualifying session. I'm interested to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, James, I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say. There's still 3 different potential strategies going into this one. I mean, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that I think it would be unlikely that we'd see anyone try the two-stop, but you know, it might be ideal for someone if they damage the wing. Whether they do choose to go for it, we'll wait and see. But it seems like the two best one-stop options are soft to hard or medium to hard, or you know, either way, whatever way you want to do it. But between those two strategies, as Sierra comes across the line to start a lap, and actually, as soon as he crosses the line, slows right down. So you know, I'm not too sure why he did that there, but Sierra about to start a flying lap, comes across the line and then slows pretty quickly. So. No lap there from Sierra. We'll go to João Pedro then, as he crosses the line. And he puts the first lap time on the board, a 1 minute 8.9, and on the medium compound. So it looks like he's warming up to go on to the softs later on, you would think, James.
Absolutely, first goes even faster with an 8.8, but yeah, all the time starting to fly in all of a sudden now. We're watching Veloce Surprise as well.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Veloce Surprise then, who's out there on the racetrack. He's gone through the second sector. He's down there at that hairpin, which you know, is a wonderful part of this racetrack. Certainly a place I would like to go and watch the racing if I ever came to Montreal. That incredible enclosed sort of area with the grandstands either side of you. Be a lovely place to try and make an overtake. You do have this long straight coming ahead of you. Surprise gets very close there between he and OMG It's Joe. And I actually think he might have impeded him there a little bit, his teammate. A surprise crossed the line, not to worry. He goes quickest of all by a mammoth 8 tenths of a second, 1 minute 8.0. Well, if he did hold him up, it didn't stop him going quickest, James, did it?
Absolutely not. He is a man on real form at the moment. It's Veloce Surprise, and he has been for a number of years now, hasn't he? He's really become the talisman on the rock side of things, and it's great to see that he's doing so well for himself as well, the Welshman. But yeah, there's a few home drivers this weekend. Tyrrell Limner stops himself into second. That's not a bad effort. Only a couple of tenths away from Surprise. But as I say, Dreylik's one of them. I think the other one is Carl Mitchell as well.
Yep, absolutely. As Sarah Rosberg comes up towards the final couple of corners, what's he going to do here? Is he going to come round and complete this lap? He bounces his way over the curbs and heads towards the start-finish line. He's taking the shortest route, as you always seem to do, and he's actually bailing out of this one, a 1 minute 10.7. So who else we got out there? Langman coming up to the final corner now. What's he going to do? He's going to bail out of his latest run and come into the pits. OMG, it's Joe though. DRS open. Is he on a quick lap? Is he going to try? No, he's not. He's going pretty slowly on those hard tyres. As Limitless has gone second on a 1.8.2. Snazzy Evening on an outlap. P1R Brown on an outlap as well. Let's go with P1R Brown, and in a few moments, James, you could perhaps take us through a lap of this Canadian Grand Prix circuit. But P1R Brown making his way up past the lake on the left-hand side, where every year I believe the Formula One teams have a race between boats. They all make boats and then race each other, a yacht race sort of thing, and they all race one another. As P1R Brown comes round the final corner to begin a flying lap. James, take us round the place.
Yeah, here we go then. Sergio Gil Villeneuve, very testing for the driver's got to be ever so committed into the first corner, down into third gear. Only a bit deep there was P1R Brown. I got the words out eventually as he exits turn 2 and turn 3. This is a difficult, complex of corners where, of course, we saw the most controversy during the race this year, and then exiting towards the end of the first sector. Try to clip this curb nicely on the inside on both occasions, but don't really want to run your car too much over those curbs. You will probably unsettle the car. This is one of 3 DRS zones that they approach now. As they dart down towards turn 9, they now follow themselves through. A lot of chicanes around this circuit, but they're very, very difficult on the brake, very bumpy on entry as well. And then down towards the famous hairpin, where we have seen a number of shunts down the years through. Here we go again, the long hairpin right, and then back on the power. You're flat out now all the way towards the final chicane, and then you're back on the power once again down towards the first corner. But the final chicane, this is maybe one of the toughest places for an F1 driver to take, and you've got to be committed as hell through those final couple of corners. Not enough to whack it against the barrier, but just on the limit. And P1R Brown, with an unspectacular effort, albeit on hard tyres, does a 9.7. Alphabal, by the way, actually sold himself into second place on a set of soft tyres. That's impressive from the Toro Rosso driver.
Yeah, good effort there from Alphabal. You know, we can compare it to Surprise's time because they both did it on the same tyre. So Alphabal, the Turkish driver who is pretty new to ILR, joining early on in the season, and he slots into second place. He certainly appears to be quite a good qualifier, does Alphabal. Dropping off slightly in the race at times, but you can put the whole package together, James. He could, you know, really ruffle a few feathers in the field, couldn't he?
Absolutely, but we've seen this with a number of drivers that recently months and a couple of games as well. Snazzy Evening was one of them, and we know what pace that man has now. The most recently for us is what I've noticed is War Verstappen. Verstappen does have very good one-lap pace, and I've noticed that a lot about him, but never is able to completely solidify it in the race. And I feel like Alphabal needs to just sort of do the same as Verstappen, get those good laps in, but then after that, those two especially just need to improve the consistency in the race, so they've got the good race pace along with their qualifying pace.
Just interestingly there, James, I'm tuning in to BRL João Pedro there, who just went 4/10 quicker on a 1.85, but his lap time was invalidated. So, you know, that was on those soft compound tyres. I don't know if he was intentionally getting a toe off his teammate there, seeing it, but it certainly appeared like it as they went around the final couple of corners and down that long back straight. But it gave him 4/10, but in the end he made a mistake, went off the track, and it wasn't to be for BRL João Pedro. We've got 9.5 minutes to go in qualifying. It's Veloce Surprise still on top by around a tenth of a second to Alphabal second, TRL Limitless third on an outlap at the moment. Zerchi, he's P4, Feisty Ted fifth, and the man you're with João Pedro P6. As I say that, he's just been dropped to P7 as things stand, as we wait to see what tyres everyone's going to end the session on. We've had quite a mixture actually so far, to be fair, haven't we, James? And I think that pretty much backs up your point from earlier on, doesn't it, about the various strategy calls we're going to have in this race.
Absolutely. There's a few guys, for some reason, you say, they're just using different tyres early doors in qualifying. It's a bit peculiar you'd see that, especially the hards. That's not a tyre you really become accustomed to seeing. Joe's done 4 laps on his hard tyres at the moment as well. As EVR Reynolds, that's impressive. Moves himself onto the front row of the grid. We've seen that before, haven't we, in the Renault. And he's actually only a few hundredths away from Veloce Surprise. Whether that's Surprise's true pace, we're yet to see. But nonetheless, I'm sure Reynolds will be pretty chuffed with that.
Yeah, I think he will. Reynolds goes up into the front row. Has that power unit package transferred from real life into the game as well? Perhaps it has, as EVR Reynolds pops up into second place. Good to see the Renault running well, and you're absolutely right. That man did once sit in the front row of the grid alongside another unlikely hero in York. Back in Baku a couple of seasons ago in F1 2018, how well we remember that. It's VSRN famous now in the Ferrari. The prancing horse gallops into pole position with 8 minutes to go in the session, and now we're starting to see lap times being filled at the top by those on soft compound tyres. The top 8 now all done their laps on a set of softs. So who's going to be next to respond? Alperbal's on an outlap. Feisty Ted is out there, not going particularly quickly though. TRL Limitless though, he is on a lap, and he's finding 2/10 as things stand, and that is going to be enough potentially to put him up onto the front row. Yes, there are still 7.5 minutes to go, but it's crucial that you get a lap in and warm yourself up to the end of the session. He's going to get a lovely tow here as well from the back of Feisty Ted as TRL Limitless makes his way down towards that final chicane, towards the Wall of Champions. So far, so good for TRL Limitless. He was cutting it fine coming out from behind Feisty Ted as he runs up to the line, takes the shortest route. Where's Limitless going to go? He's going to go quickest of all. The first man into the 1 minute 7s, a 1:7.963, and Limitless once again showing that on F1 2019, and as he, to be fair to him, at the end of 2018 too, has really got that qualifying pace nailed down now, hasn't he?
Absolutely. It's great to see that he's finally nailed those qualifying woes of last season and last game as well. It's right. The back end of the game, he was he was getting there, very much getting there on his qualifying with Limitless, and obviously proving a point. But this game, he is just statementing his great performances in qualifying of this game, and especially in this league as well. He really has cemented some brilliant efforts in qualifying. When he has an off day, he does have a pretty poor off day, but for this far, Tyrrell Limitless on provisional pole.
Yeah, good effort from him as Kyle Mitchell is out there on the racetrack. He's currently slowest of all at the moment. He's yet to put the time on the board, to be fair to him, pardon me, as his Snazzy Evening, his teammate, but Kyle at the moment is putting a solid little lap together on a set of soft compound tyres. Where is this going to put him in the running order as he runs up towards that final chicane? And you really need to attack these curves around here, and gets really close to the Wall of Champions, does Kyle Mitchell. Not quite taking the shortest route, but it was a 1:7.7, but it must have been invalidated somewhere in the lap, because it does not count, and he stays slowest of all. Lap time invalidated. Behind him on the road, Snazzy Evening starting a flying lap with just under 6 minutes to go in the session. It's starting to get hotting up here. The top 9 now with times on soft tyres. It's still Limitless from Infamous at the top as we watch Snazzy Evening not leaving much room on the table at all, rubbing up close and personal with the barriers, just like his teammate James. And to be fair, you have to do that round here.
Yeah, the McLarens are on the ragged edge. It is a circuit where you've got to fight with the car and you've got to be so committed on your qualifying lap. You cannot afford to leave anything on the table, and you've got to commit yourself through these fast chicanes. It's probably one of the weirdest circuits in terms of the number of chicanes that really make up this racetrack, with a couple of hairpins that follow as well. And for Snazzy Evening, might get a nice little tow here off the back of the Ferrari, I think that is, just in front of him.
That's his teammate, actually.
That's
Kyle
McLaren.
Mitchell.
Yeah,
it's his teammate, Kyle Mitchell, giving him a lovely tow. Good teamwork here from the McLaren team. Are people doing what we've seen a lot of in the F1 Esports series? Well, we heard a lot of. We didn't get to see much qualifying in the F1 Esports series, but we heard a lot of people talking about tow, and Snazzy Evening using it to perfection. He uses it to put it onto pole position by a distance, a country mile in fact. 0.4 of a second on pole goes Snazzy Evening. A little bit of help from the tow, but I don't think there was that much coming from it. That is a sensational effort, and well, that is quite the benchmark for those people, the rest of the field, to aim for with 4.5 minutes to go.
Absolutely, that is a sensational effort in qualifying from Snazzy Evening. We haven't seen everyone set maybe their true pace. We haven't seen Surprise yet go out for one of his masterful runs towards the end of the session, the Vettel-esque sort of qualifying lap in the 2011 season. That's what we're sort of expecting to see with Mercedes thus far. Joe hasn't set a representative time. Let's be real here. He's 12th on the grid at the moment, hasn't set a time. Kyle Mitchell, I'm not going to rule him out just yet either, because he has got qualifying pace when it matters most. He has had a couple of pole positions in this league, albeit one, I believe, at Silverstone last season. And it's going to be interesting to see whether he can just hold his nerve and whether those guys can get a good lap in on the board as well. Sarah's only 7th. He's on an out lap as well. But that tow, that slipstream that you were talking about, it seems to be so crucial around here. You're finding so much time, a lot of the drivers, in doing that. Whether they're taking in turns or not, we'll soon find out. But this is proving to be one of those sessions a bit like Monza last time, where it may be a case that everyone's trying to back themselves into each other just to be able to get the tow to complete a lap.
Yep, absolutely. VSR Drelix was on a lap there, the home favourite, but he abandoned it. He hadn't scored a single point until last time out, where he finished in P8. So we're looking to try and replicate that here on home soil. As into the pits comes Alperval. So the men on the outlaps at the moment, they are Sierra, they are VSR and Famous, and also OMG, it's Joe out there on a outlap at the moment. Let's see if we can pick up the someone furthest round the racetrack. I believe it's Sierra, but yes, you're right. OMG, it's Joe going for the medium compound. That is going to be quite interesting. In the pits, but not out on track with medium tyres fitted, you have got Pioneer Brown, CRL Rosberg. We know Rosberg loves to start from low down the order, so that is going to be one to watch for sure. But we need to go and watch Sierra, because he is starting his potentially final, perhaps penultimate lap, and I think he cut that first corner there. He took an awful lot of the inside curb and was immediately backed out, as you say, James. So I think we have to go and watch the other man who's on a hot lap, who was it? Who's about to start one? In Famous it was. Yeah, there we go. Sure. There's the Ferrari. So we'll keep an eye on Infamous. Joe's behind him on the road, so behind that we'll go to Joe after that one. So here comes VSR Infamous in that Ferrari, who did earlier on in the section take provisional pole, as he again takes a lot of curb going through the first corner, gets away with it though, and now climbing up through the gears as he makes his way through turns 2, 3, and then this tricky downhill section. So easy to run right up and hit the wall, but Infamous absolutely nailing it through that first part, and he's a full 2.5 tenths up on his first sector time previously, so he's finding time in Famous. A little bit of a correction there, got very close to the barrier, he didn't get into the throttle as quickly as he'd like as he goes through the second DRS zone. The Renault jumps out the way again, and Famous running it right out towards the edge of the racetrack. What's it looking like through the second sector? Still 2.5 tenths up roughly. He lost a little bit of time. That mistake perhaps at the end of that first sector at the start of the second costing him. Now here's the tow he was looking for. Not only are they doing it at McLaren, they're doing it at Ferrari as well. So Drelix now giving his teammate a tow. This could make all the difference as VSR and Famous gets a lovely tow then as he comes into the final chicane. He's going to have to commit to everything to this. He found 2.5 tenths through the first sector. What can he find at the end of the lap? Can Infamous go quickest? No, he can't. He goes second quickest, 2 tenths shy of Snazzy Evening, and I feel that mistake he made at the start of the second sector cost him dear, James.
Absolutely, but everyone is finding a way to just get some tow out there. It's crazy. They're all backing off in the final sector, and that will really concertina the field right up again. OMG's Joe has moved himself into 6th place with that lap on mediums, which is impressive to say the least from him. But we've got to watch the 2 Alfa Romeos. They're still right in the mix as well, and Veloce Surprise has begun or is beginning his final lap.
Yeah, he's on one at the moment, but the problem he has is he's not getting any tow from his teammate. They're working for themselves, the two Mercedes out there. No tow assistance. Surprising, only found a tenth and a bit for the first two sectors, and now he's hit the wall in the final corner. This is not going to be pole for Surprise. Incredibly though, it is enough for the front row, and he goes alongside Snazzy Evening on a 1:7.7. It's so close up there. Limitless now, he's finding time through the first sector. He's found only 400ths though. That won't be enough as things stand. Maybe that's why people did laps so early on in the session, so they could both get the benefit of the tow. Sierra's in the garage, he's done all he can, so it's only P8 for him. BRL João Pedro is out there going again. Limitless, as we say, he's finding time, not much though. As things stand, he's going to need an almighty final sector, and Langman is not interested in helping him out for the tow. So Limitless now makes his way towards the end of the lap. What can he deliver right at the end of qualifying? It's P4 at the moment. Snazzy Evening from Surprise, from Infamous. 2 tenths, 1.5 tenths really, between the top three. WR Verstappen now moves into the top 4. What's Limitless got coming out of the final corner? Can he improve? He stays P5. He's slower by a fraction. It is no improvement. Surprise is bailed out. Snazzy Evening is going again. He wants to rub salt into their wounds. He wants to blow them all away at the end of qualifying. No, he bails out, and he was actually giving Kyle a tow. That's what he was doing. And here comes Kyle Mitchell. No time on the board just yet. Is he about to shock us all at the end of qualifying? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. 1:07.427. No lap in qualifying. Wins to the very end. A lovely tow from his teammate. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's a McLaren 1-2 in qualifying. Kyle Mitchell on pole. Snazzy Evening second. Well, James. When I woke up this morning and came in to the paddock for qualifying, I did not expect that front row. Kyle from Snazzy Evening. Wow.
That is unbelievable, isn't it? And actually consider this. Earlier on, I was reading the chat, and those two were saying, well, it's been a great season so far, jokingly, because they are last in the Drivers' Championship, the pair of them. They are 19th and 20th in the standings as well at the moment. And I also said a few moments ago, with about 4 minutes ago, I said, look and watch out for Carl Mitchell. Don't rule him out just yet, because he's got great long one-lap pace at times. He done it at Silverstone. He had a chance here, and boy, oh boy, did he take it. What an amazing day for McLaren in qualifying. It could get better in the race, though. The Snazzy Evening starts alongside him. Veloce Surprise is third. Infamous starts from fourth. Verstappen with a very, very impressive effort in fifth place. Tyrrell Limitless didn't get the best of what he could do in sixth. Reynolds has got a penalty in seventh and set the same time as Joe on medium tyres. Identical lap times for those two. Seventh and eighth on the grid. That will soon change. Pedro ninth. Alfa Romeo not getting the points or the result they wanted in qualifying. Sierra starts 10th. Ambar 11th. Brown 12th. Is Ted 13th. Elchi 14th. Drolic's 15th. Rosberg 16th, and Langman starts from the back of the grid. But that was a very, very interesting qualifying session. Really, really close stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not expect that at all. And as you say, they're last in this championship. So that just shows you what can happen in ILR. It all just shakes up. You don't expect it. And then right at the very end, they both nailed it with a superb effort. The two McLarens. The great late effort there from Kyle Mitchell to get the time in and take pole by a tenth of a second. And, you know, you can overtake round here. It is possible. But the two McLarens now at the front, working as a team, as they did in qualifying, have the chance to control this race, James, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, there's going to be a massive slipstream fest this race. Just believe it when you see it, because the DRS round here is so powerful. It will play an effect. And those McLarens are going to have to negotiate the team order element of what they're doing here today. They cannot afford to squabble with each other so much, because they've got a charging silver arrow in their rear view mirror in the form of Veloce Surprise. They cannot afford to take each other off the road either. It's so crucial for McLaren that they get those points on the board today. Yeah,
absolutely, James. And, you know, they might not want to help each other. It isn't in their best interest to help each other. That is fact. I mean, at the end of the day, winning the Constructors does not matter to them. This is league racing. It's not important. There is no team principle. But it would be in their best interest to keep the favourite. You know, he is the favourite. He's won 4 out of 6 races. People like Veloce Surprise out of contention. It would be beneficial for them to help each other. So let's see if they can do that, because they certainly helped each other in qualifying, and it showed, because they needed that extra tenth and a bit in the straight to keep Veloce Surprise at bay, didn't they?
Absolutely, they did. And this is a day where luck is going to be I really think on the side of one of these guys, Friday the 13th, if we're all forgetting, of course. But this has been a great day for McLaren so far. I just hope they can solidify it in the race as well. Joe is the only guy in the top 10 to start on mediums. Alphabal, though, because of those grid penalties, has decided to opt for the hard tyres. He's the only driver on the grid to have done that. P1R Brown is on medium tyres. Reynolds, who got the grid penalty, starts on softs. Zelchi, Drelex, Rosberg, Langman and Feisty they all start on the medium compound tyres. Everybody else on the grid starts on those soft compound tyres as well. It's going to be an interesting one for strategy, and it's going to be certainly an interesting one for those two papaya orange McLarens.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, as you say. So softs to hards predicted for those starting on the soft compound tyre. Potentially a two-stop, as James says. Outside chance of that if they go to mediums at their first pit stop. We'll have to wait and see if anyone does that. Those on the mediums, outside the top 10, you would suspect will move on to a set of hards in the second half of the race. We'll have to wait and see as they all line up on the grid for round number 7 of the season. Kyle Mitchell and Snazzy Evening, neither of them have had a win this season. Neither of them have been in great form at all. Suddenly, they find themselves on the front row of the grid together and an opportunity to get a win on the board. Here come the 5 red lights as we get ready for the start of the Grand Prix here in Canada. In Montreal, the 5 red lights are on and we are racing here in Canada. It's a great start from Snazzy Evening. He's pulling alongside into turn 1. Surprise also gets a good start, bumping wheels with Kyle Mitchell, but Snazzy Evening jumps ahead of his teammate off the line. The perfect getaway, and Kyle just about looks like he's going to hold off the launch of Surprise. Surprise trying everything as they go into the first major braking zone and tight section of the circuit. And in the end, Kyle Mitchell just about holds on. It was a tardy start, but he's done just enough. Limitless is in 4th, 5th position WR Verstappen, holding on to that great start. Look at this, side by side. Reynolds and OMG, it's Joe scrapping over 6th and 7th, and Reynolds at the moment has the upper hand and has 6th place. Joe, remember, starting this race on the medium compound, and he could be in for a fine afternoon as Limitless gets a little bit leery coming out of that chicane, and he's got Verstappen all over him. Is he going to have a look? No more than a look, and it remains as they were. But it was a tardy start from Mitchell, but he got away with it, James.
He did get away with it, but what a tremendous launch from the second row, and Veloce Surprise. His launch was absolutely unbelievable. If you remember Verstappen a couple of years ago, getting a very, very similar start to that of Veloce Surprise on the opening lap of this Canadian Grand Prix. It's Snazzy Evening who leads, as you say, from Carl Mitchell. Veloce Surprise is third with Limitless 4th. Verstappen 5th. There's more contact behind. Sarah, he's lost it in the World of Champions.
Yeah, Cena off and into the wall of champions, one of the championship contenders in the wars on the opening lap. He can't quite make it into the pit lane from there. He's going to have to continue on. It's a disaster for Cena. He's left the session in disgust. Game over for one of the major contenders, and Veloci Surprise will be licking his lips at the sight of that. And in fact, as I speak about that, we need to go up to the front because he's found a way through on Kyle Mitchell. Did you see it, James? Because I certainly didn't. And through goes Surprise.
No, but there's even worse news for the McLaren of Carl Mitchell, who's got wing damage. The right-hand side of his car is all just broken away. The front end, the front wing, the front right end plate of his car is completely gone. So he's going to have a major loss of downforce. Here comes Limitless up, steaming up the inside, and he's got the move done. The McLaren is now going to be falling off the edge of the cliff with that lack of downforce on the front of the car.
Yeah, really struggling. I can only assume that he's hit the barrier on the way down the hill through turns 4 and 5, and now he's going to be prey to WR Verstappen. He's going to have to be careful here. Is Kyle going to want to pit? He is going to want to pit, I would presume. Well, Kyle found himself on the wrong side, then had to back out and let him go.
Oh, Verstappen's on the wall.
It gets really, really out of shape there. Rear tyre bouncing up against the barrier, but no end plate damage because it wasn't his end plate that touched it. It was only tyre face to the barrier, and no puncture for that on this game, and he gets away with it. So, you know, a couple of good things happening there for Surprise. He breaks one half of the McLaren resistance, puts pressure on Kyle. He makes a mistake, I presume. And is that a hit against the wall again for Verstappen this time? Yeah, it was. But I think he got away with it once again, James.
Yeah, he's riding his luck here as the Williams driver because he's soon going to have OMG's Joe roll up behind him. And I was just about to say as well, you've got to watch Joe towards the end of this first stint. Although we're very early doors here, you've got to watch him towards the end of the first stint. He will be rapid on those medium tyres, especially it seems you would believe you're going on to the hard tyres afterwards as well. But such tardy starts from some of the drivers at the front of the field here. Very, very messy stuff towards the front of the field. A lot of drivers going deep, hitting the wall of champions, running and right up against the walls. It's not been the clean start that I think everyone was hoping for this race, but it's certainly been one of attrition.
Absolutely, as OMG's Joe gets really close to the back of WR Verstappen. Joe, as you say, James, on those medium tyres, going for a different strategy, and now Verstappen's hit the wall again, and I think this time, there's no doubt about it, he has damaged that wing. Well, how many lives do you want? Cats get 9, WR Verstappen gets 3 warnings, or 3 lives, and this time, he's erased the front wing from the front of the car, much like Kyle Mitchell, the same side, and now Joe is going to be clambering all over the back of that Williams, even more than he was. So Verstappen out of shape. You can see it as we ride on board with OMG. It's Joe. He's really, really struggling. Joe can see it, and I think he's going to do exactly what Josh did, for lots of surprise did, to Kyle Mitchell. And, well, we assume that's what he did, and that's what happened, because it looked pretty similar, and through goes OMG. It's Joe through up into 4th place, and as you say, on those medium tyres, he's going to be a real threat potentially even for the victory this afternoon. What a qualifying, what a position he's put himself in, James.
He really has, and the start has helped him a lot as well. We know Joe's been very good at his starts on the game, and he's proved that worth there. Langman's actually going wheel to wheel, very close with Feisty Ted, further down the field. Although it's not really a battle that many people will be looking out for, it's certainly a battle we'll be watching as well, as Reynolds is also under pressure from João Pedro behind him as well. João Pedro, the lead Alfa Romeo, the only Alfa Romeo left in this Grand Prix, making a move on Reynolds, trying to go around the outside through there. He's going to back off on this occasion, and Verstappen bails off into the pits, and now we've got to watch João Pedro. He's got a great run on the Renault, down towards the first corner. Watch the Williams in behind as well. He's got a good opportunity to pounce, and down the inside goes João Pedro, and he can't quite get the move done on this occasion, but he'll try again round the outside. He's got to watch the Williams. He's in a very, very vulnerable position here as the Alfa.
Yeah, he really is, and it goes from bad to worse from WR Verstappen, because he came in and oh wow, that's really close there between João Pedro and EVR Reynolds, and Pedro's on the inside. That's opportunistic. That is brilliant. He's through up into 5th place. Tidy stuff. Out of shape went Reynolds, and through the tiniest of gaps goes João Pedro. A little trim of the grass, kicking up a little bit of dirt in the process, and through goes the Brazilian up into 5th place. Lovely stuff from João Pedro. Reynolds didn't know what hit him, and through goes the Alfa up into 5th place. But as I was saying, yes, it was going from bad to worse for WR Verstappen. Not only the wing damage, he also got a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So things not going well for him. And as we said, James, you know, qualifying, great for WR Verstappen. Race pace, not so, as he now picks up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting as well. It's compounding his misery.
Yeah, and JD's actually coming to the pits only after 4 laps on those super soft tyres. They really undurable. That undurable? That's crazy how little life they must have. If he's only pitting on lap 4, that's crazy. Yeah, well, I quickly cut to him there, James, to see if there was anything wrong with the wing. He's on mediums as well.
Yeah, no sign of wing damage either, so that is a clear decision from TRL Limitless. Not a decision forced by wing damage, purely a decision down to strategy. He feels the 2-stop is the way to go. I had a quick look at his car there, the viewers seen it. There was no wing damage on that car, so that is a genuine 2-stop attempt from TRL Limitless. So as you mentioned, James, you were absolutely spot on in qualifying. There is a real mixture of strategies here this weekend, and I am absolutely loving it. And I'm sure Veloci Surprise is loving things too, because he's right behind Snazzy Evening and probably fancies his chances of taking the lead away here on lap 6 out of 35. Here comes the Mercedes driver, DRS open. What can Snazzy do to defend? The Finnish driver's under threat. Here comes Veloci Surprise, the Welshman, steaming round the outside. Can he make it stick? Oh, he can! Great late braking from Surprise to make the move stick. That was right on the limit, and now Snazzy Evening wants to fight back going down towards turn 1, but Surprise has got the legs, he's got the DRS, and he's got the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Lovely move.
Very different Snazzy Evening to what we've seen in the past, especially last sort of game. He's a driver who's massively, well, just improving all the time in Snazzy Evening, but he's very mature. He's matured his game now, and that sort of move where he would have maybe allowed the position away, not allowed it, he's defended it well as Snazzy Evening. He realised he was defenceless and couldn't do much about it, and in the end just relinquished the lead to Veloci Surprise. Very sort of mature driving. I respect that massively from the McLaren, and he's now got to try and find a way back past Veloci Surprise and maybe even change up his strategy here, because that Mercedes looks rapid at the moment.
Yeah, it really does. It's going to be difficult to beat Veloci Surprise this afternoon by the looks of it. Not helped, of course, Snazzy Evening by his teammate who had his issues too. And Surprise looking very, very strong as he tries to eke away. Snazzy Evening will do everything he can to stay within that DRS zone, and he's gaining back in on the back of that Mercedes. He's braking very late, in fact. He's coming into the pits, so that is also a very early stop then from Snazzy Evening. The big question, James, what tyre is he putting on? If it's mediums, is this another two-stop attempt? Let's see. It looks like mediums. Is it mediums?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So is that a retaliation to what TRL Limitless has done? Is it too late though? Has Limitless already made up the time? Because Limitless is in so much clean air at the moment. Let's see. Here comes Limitless. There's Snazzy Evening. This is going to be relatively close, you know. Snazzy is ahead and only just, and he had to do it on that lap, because if he didn't, TRL Limitless would have been away and gone.
Yeah, it was a big call from McLaren to bring him in, or himself to bring himself in. When he did, it's crucial then for this Grand Prix. And all of a sudden, there's a battle forming away for the final podium spot. Technically, it's not the final podium spot, but Jean Pedro is leading a cars of Reynolds, Brown and Rosberg as well, who's in the fray. And he's on those medium tyres. Expect him to do the opposite. Expect him to do the same strategy as OMG's Joe and bolt on a set of hard tyres midway through this Grand Prix. But it's weird that everyone is deciding the two-stop. Seemingly the better way to go. I would believe it's going to be a two-stop. There's no way that the mediums are going to go to the end, especially with the duration of that soft tyre. Surely the mediums can't go to the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I don't think they can, and Surprise is now making the decision, and that looks like a set of hard compound tyres and a wing change, I think, as well, for Veloci Surprise.
It is,
so
yeah.
He damaged that wing at some point on the lap. It looks like he has. So on that in-lap, he's made a mistake, he's damaged the wing, and now he chooses the hard compound. So unlike some of the others, he does not opt to go on to a set of mediums, and he's going to the end of the race, it would seem, for Veloci Surprise. He's lost a hatful of time. He's only just in front of João Pedro, for goodness sake. Limitless is 8 seconds or so up the road. So the race is just turning on its head, moment by moment. And I have to say, as things stand, James, things are looking very good for OMG It's Joe, aren't they?
They are indeed. 7 seconds out in front. He's got the most clean air of anyone on circuit. He's not pushing because he doesn't need to. Doesn't need to break any sort of gap. He's sliding the car around though through the hairpin. Maybe he's looking a little bit too easy through there. Rosberg is getting mighty close up behind Reynolds as well. But this race has just turned on its head once again. This league never fails to disappoint. And I feel it's going to be one of those races, Andy, now. From here on in, it's going to be an absolute sort of, we don't really know what's going to happen after this point, but something very, very uncharacteristic of Veloci Surprise, actually getting wing damage during the race. It's something you never really see, but he's managed to achieve that here today. Maybe an achievement he won't be too proud of. And in comes ILR Reynolds from second place in the race, and he's going to be bolting on a set of hard tyres himself. As we all know, medium tyres are going on to the Renault, and everyone now is starting to find their feet in this Grand Prix. Draglic's right up behind Alphabol as well.
Yeah, the home favourite trying to get the home crowd excited. Well, there's been plenty of excitement out there so far, as you've just mentioned, James. But, you know, they'd absolutely love the home favourite Draglic's to get a strong result at his home circuit. No doubt about that, as he runs in 4th place at the moment, gaining on the back of Alperbol, the Turkish driver, in what's turning out to be quite a nice little scrap there. But, you know, we can't discount Alperbol, by the way. Don't forget, he's also out there on a set of hard compound tyres. So things going very well for him, as well as Snazzy Evening looks to have gone ahead of Feisty Ted, which is quite important, given that Feisty's not pitted yet, and he's trying to build a gap between himself and Limitless as Snazzy, so he's put a car between them as well now, so that's also key. So Snazzy making important ground, and Alperbol, yep, as we just mentioned, they are doing very well in the hard compound, isn't he?
He's doing reasonably well, yeah. I mean, it's just a case of how long he'll decide to go on those hards, because he's in the position that Sarah was in Baku, if you remember. He sort of has the curfew, he has the opportunity here to really decide his own race. What he decides to go on the mediums, or maybe to wait it out and decide to go on those the soft compound tyres, as TRL Limitless finds a way past Feisty Ted now as well. So he's got that buffer out the way. He needs to get on with chasing down that McLaren in front of him.
Yep, absolutely crucial now for Limitless. He's just outside that 1 second window. He'll be working hard to try and get back within it as we watch Alperbol really rushing right up tight against the barrier there, leaving a few marks of rubber on the DHL sign. I think it might have been. Do they even sponsor DHL still in Formula 1? I'm pretty sure they do. And I think, yeah, they do. Pirelli, well, it was one of the two. But yeah, anyway, you get the point. As Alperbol runs in 3rd place and Draglic's right up behind him. That looks like the closest scrap on the fight on the racetrack at the minute. But James, I've got to say, I love watching races with side-by-side action, but it's been a while. It's been a couple of F1 games since we've had this opportunity to get a mixture of one-stop, two-stop, various different strategies, and to have that compiled in with great action on the track. You love to see it. You really do.
You do absolutely love to see it, and that's exactly what we're looking for as commentators, as neutrals, to see that. And there is Snazzy Evening getting past the Ferrari of Drelex just before the braking zone, before the wall of champions, the final couple of corners. That's crucial as well. He's done that at a really good point on the racetrack there.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realise that Snazzy Evening was put along the side because I was too busy on board with Drelex. I just saw a big bright orange car breeze past, much to my surprise, but through goes Snazzy Evening, and he's now hot on the heels of Alper Ball as Limitless picks up a 3-second time penalty. He'll be kicking himself for that as Snazzy Evening sets up a move on Alper Ball. Great line through there, he actually clips Alper Ball coming out of the corner, and that's going to kill his momentum, but he does still have the DRS. Alper Ball wants to defend this on the hard compound. Remember, this is technically for position because they both, we think, would have to stop again. So it's understandable why Alper Ball would want to hold him up. So often, James, we see... so on you go, sorry.
Yeah, he's doing a great job to defend at the moment at Alper Ball, but you can just see he had to back off the throttle there to the McLaren of Snazzy Evening, and this is playing right into the hands again of the racing boy behind him. Drelex is also seemingly going to lose a position here, and Snazzy Evening is going to gain a position, it seems, on the Toro Rosso in towards the final couple of corners. He's around the outside. What a move that was from the McLaren. Brilliant stuff.
Vital move that. OMGH Joe's made his pit stop. He's on his way back out. Alper Ball is not giving this up. He's determined to keep fighting as the Turkish driver, but in the end he does eventually have to give way, and through goes Snazzy, and now Limitless is going to get him at the perfect moment, out-traction him on those fresher tyres. Easy move on the exit, and through he goes, and Limitless is now just within a second of Snazzy Evening. And look at this, Alper Ball and Drelex side by side. How often do you see that? Not very through that section, and Drelex mugs him off, and the Canadian fans in the grandstands go wild. Great stuff there from Drelex up into the top four, but Alper Ball ain't finished. Here comes the Turk, straight back at him in the Toro Rosso. Is he going to make that move? Yes, he is. Back through into fourth place. Ding-dong stuff going on everywhere you look at the moment. Alper Ball on 12-lap-old hards, Drelex on 12-lap-old mediums, James.
Something that we need to pick up on. It's really important in this race. OMGH Joe is ahead of Veloce Surprise on the racetrack. He's managed to pit and come out ahead of his teammate, which is huge in this Grand Prix. It means Mercedes have not got that sort of issue with having to let those two properly... Well, they're going to have the issue of those two racing against each other potentially if Surprise has got the life in those hard tyres. Sarah Rosberg is coming to the pits now as well. He was 9 seconds behind Joe on the previous lap, and Alper Ball has actually pit from those hard tyres, so that's quite early, you'd say, from those hard tyres in the Toro Rosso.
I'm going to have a look and see if he's actually damaged his wing, because that does not make sense at all. I've actually missed that point in case I've missed the camera if he did have a wing change. I don't think he did, but what's he going on to? A set of mediums? Well, good luck to him getting to the end on those. I mean, you would assume, James, that he's had a damaged wing, but we don't know for sure. So now in the lead of this Grand Prix is Snazzy Evening. He leads TRL Limitless by 1 second. Both drivers, we think, will have to stop again. We do not believe they will be able to get to the end of the race on those mediums, particularly Limitless, who pitted after 4 laps. That would require an enormous 31-lap stint on... No, it wasn't 4 laps, it was 6 laps, sorry. That would require a 29-lap stint on a set of mediums, which just seems downright crazy. So we think Snazzy Evening and Limitless will have to stop once more. Drelex and Feisty Ted in third and fourth have yet to stop, so that effectively means OMGH Joe is the leader from Veloce Surprise as OMGH Joe makes his way past Feisty Ted, easy as that, and up into fourth place. But the thing Joe and Surprise have to consider is a hard-charging Snazzy Evening and TRL Limitless on fresher tyres at the end of the race coming back through, James. What do we think of that?
Yeah, it's one of those races where you've got to play that balancing act so well, and Joe is not a man who we know has been very amazing on his tyres. He definitely has, you could say he drives with his heart on his sleeve. He really does race hard as OMGH Joe, and on tyres as well, he's very similar to that. He needs to understand that this race is a waiting game. He has to make sure that he just nails it on those hard tyres. He cannot afford to push them off the cliff, because like you say, if he does, he's going to find himself in some real danger with a couple of laps to go of this Grand Prix. But he's got some good pace at the moment, just needs to solidify his place ahead of Veloce Surprise. I feel that might just win him this race, if he can just keep the gap consistent to his teammate behind him.
Yep, simple move there for OMGH Joe and Drelex, the home favourite is demoted to fourth position, and now Feisty Ted is now right back on his tail. But as you say, he's got that cushion over Veloce Surprise as things stand, as Veloce Surprise had to change his wing and go onto the hard tyres, probably not at the ideal moment. I mean, James, I don't even know how long the hard tyres can go in this race. I mean, Surprise came in on lap 10. That's a 25 lap stint. I don't think that is going to be straightforward.
Maybe.
I mean, I think he will do. I think he would
Stretching
manage it, but it is stretching it, I would have thought, yeah.
It's not a strategy which I think a lot of people have gone for, the softs to the hard compound. A very, very peculiar strategy. Alphabol on mediums, by the way, just goes and sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 10.7. He is in the top 10 as well, so he will get another point if he can keep it, which would be, I'm sure he'd be mighty happy with that. Sarah Rosberg still driving a fine race up there in 7th place. He is on hard tyres, and he also has a train behind him. Brown and Alphabol is in that scrap as well.
Yeah, let's have a little look at that. I've not tuned into CRL Rosberg too much in this Grand Prix. Let's go on board them. Just fresh onto those hard tyres a couple of laps ago. Well, relatively fresh. And he definitely, you would think, will get to the end on those. Drelex and Feisty Ted not long in on for a set of hards now to the end. So I take it Drelex and Feisty Ted, who've just come in now, I presume, coming off the mediums then, as they were, onto the hard compound tyre. That is the ideal time to come in onto those tyres. So they're 7 laps younger than Veloci Surprise. So that just shows you the extent that Surprise is stretching them out, James, doesn't it? As Alphabol looks like he's going to line up a move here on P1 Brown, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely right. And one thing that would really spice this race up is a safety car, because that would throw everything right out the window. Once again, that would turn it on its head. But Alphabol, as you say, really closing up to the back of P1 Brown here as they enter turn 1. Is the Turkish driver going to find the inside line? He is going to find the inside line. They're banging wheels through the first couple of corners, and it looks like the Williams has just said, well, you're not getting through there, sunshine. Not quite that easily. You've got to get up pretty early to fall up P1 Brown, and he couldn't resist, and P1 Brown stays ahead. Well, for now, but look at that additional grip on those medium tyres, the additional speed on that Toro Rosso. Trying to find a way through that Williams. It looks like he might get it through the chicane here on the switchback. Can't get his nose in just enough. He will then have to get on the run towards turn 9. But that Toro Rosso is looking racy. Surely a chance into towards turn 9 and 10. Backs out of this occasion, but he is looking properly quick at this stage of the race. Is Alphabol.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm loving this between these two. Neither giving an inch, and Alphabol is late on the brakes once again, this time into the hairpin. The crowd are on their feet down there, side by side at the hairpin. And Alphabol, the Turkish driver, Turkish delight from Alphabol. Through he goes up into P8, or is he through? P1 Britain fighting back. Side by side they go, and I think Alphabol this time has got it done, and he does. It is Turkish delight through up into P8 for Alphabol. Great scrapping there for literally the whole lap, James. Brilliant.
It was brilliant stuff between the Toro Rosso and Williams. It's the way you do racing. It's the respect between them. They did get their elbows out, but I love that. That is exactly how you just commit and just almost, not proper racecraft that, but it was very, very on the limit. I loved every moment of that. It was a great little squabble between those two. Rosberg is also closing up behind Reynolds, so at the moment he's looking for a really good result in the Renault. Up in 6th place, I'm sure he'll be pretty chuffed with that. He's shown some really good pace around this Canada track in general, and then tapping the wall's not doing him any and actually there's Veloci Surprise getting a penalty as well. That's also something that's not going to help him in this race.
No, absolutely not. Things not going well for Veloci Surprise at all at the minute. 3-second time penalty, and that could really hurt him when Snazzy and Limitless come charging back through. If they don't catch him on the road, they might catch him on time. And look at Alphabol. I'm loving the way he's getting his elbows out here, trying round the outside again this time, down at the hairpin. And, well, he did one to P1 Brown beautifully in the previous lap, not to be on this occasion. So CRL Rosberg needs to get a move on here because Alphabol is not hanging around. Rosberg going round the outside of Reynolds. Can he outbrake him? That would be some manoeuvre if he can. He touch. Alphabol's got nowhere to go. And the two of them are off at the Wall of Champions. The pair of them off into the barrier. Disaster there, particularly for Alphabol, who did nothing wrong. And off goes Reynolds, and into the pits comes Reynolds, and out of contention pretty much goes Alphabol as well. Racing incident really, 2 into 1 at that point, didn't go. I feel that both Reynolds and, who was it he was racing there? I think it was P1 Brown, was it? No, it was Rosberg. Both Reynolds and Rosberg.
Virtual safety car.
Virtual safety car, wow, we've got a virtual safety car, and into the pits, anyone? Apart from obviously Reynolds, who come into the tyre.
This is pretty big, really, because if the virtual safety car stays out long enough, do not be surprised to see Snazzy and Limitless diving into the pit lane, because that is a perfect opportunity for them to bolt on another set of mediums and go to the end of the Grand Prix. If Snazzy's nailed this, if the virtual safety car stays out long enough, he can come in, and he has. He's pit then from the lead of the Grand Prix. That's huge for this Grand Prix. And so is Limitless.
Yeah, this is absolutely
and
huge.
Joe. No.
Good spot. No, Joe, well, she'll have to stay out. He has to go to the end, doesn't he? So this is a big deal. DRS enabled. They have gained a little bit out of this, Snazzy and Limitless. They had to do it, but then Snazzy's held there by Limitless, so then loses a bit of time. So Limitless moves away, Snazzy moves away. He definitely gained something, James. Maybe not as much as they were after, but they had to go for the pits there, and they've both fitted a set of mediums to the end of this Grand Prix. I'm now going to load up the interval to the gap to the leader. 10.8 is the gap Snazzy Evening has to close. Limitless 14.6. This is going to be brilliant to watch.
It really is. 15 laps on mediums is possible. We saw it with Dralex, who's managed to achieve that on his set of medium tyres. So did, I think it was Brown as well. It was someone else who also decided to put the medium tyres, and they stayed out for quite some time. I think it was a Renault, actually. It may have been Reynolds in the end. But P1R Brown has managed to get past Rosberg. But as you say, crucial in this Grand Prix then for Snazzy Evening, and he needs to get on with it soon. The Alfa Romeo is the first victim here.
Yep, it's the first one on his list, and he's right behind him, but I don't think that João Pedro is going to be putting up much of a fight, if I'm honest. And here comes Snazzy Evening. The man from Finland makes his move and moves into the top three. Easy as you like. Snazzy Evening into the third place.
Towards the wall. Surprise! He's in the wall, is he?
Oh,
yes!
No! I don't believe it! I do not believe it. Surprise is out of the race, but it has ruined Snazzy Evening's race in the process. There must have been lag involved there, because I don't think Snazzy's car was anywhere near Surprise's. Out goes Snazzy Evening. Surprise has left the session, and Snazzy, who looked on course to a potential victory here, who was about to begin a long charge up through the field, is out of this race, and his car is parked right on the racing line. No safety car yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is, James. What a shame.
What a shame. He was on it. You don't know what could have happened in those moments. It's just not ideal for him. And P1R Brown has now got past João Pedro as well. I think he's lost loads of front wing. He's lost so much front wing on that car. The racing points are in business here. Tero Limitless is second place, and they've got Surprise. Well, he's technically out of the race at the moment. Brown in fourth, Rosberg fifth. Goodness me, what could happen in this Grand Prix? So much action, so much carnage going on through the field.
I mean, I honestly don't know if P1R Brown can get to the end. We knew it was tight for Surprise. It's the same situation for P1R Brown. Surprise is back in, but his car has caused the retirement of Snazzy Evening, who will be absolutely furious about what has just taken place. Rosberg has now got himself ahead of Surprise. Surprise is not yet back in the car yet. He's down in 5th position as Veloci Surprise. How glad will Surprise be that Ceres is the nightmare as well? Wow, I did say at the top of the show that in Canada crazy things can happen. Well, it's happened again, hasn't it? And Surprise down in 5th place. What can Limitless do? He does have a 3-second time penalty though, James, so he might get to Joe, but what happens beyond that, I'm not too sure, given that penalty he has.
Absolutely, but you've got to say, Joe looks in a bit of a prime position here, doesn't he? He's 9 laps on those hard compound of tyre, which means he's got a number of laps to go, still 13 laps on that set of tyres. There is an awful long way to go of this race, and it's not over yet. Brown's up there on tyres. He's also on 13-lap-old hard, so it's going to be a really tight finish here between a lot of the guys at the front of the field. Don't be surprised at a podium shock here. It really could happen.
Yeah, we could potentially see a double Racing Point podium here, and they have been threatening results like that, haven't they? Remember back in Bahrain when Limitless and Rosberg were both scrapping right at the front end of the field as P1R Brown picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that is a vital mistake you don't want to make. Remember, Veloci Surprise actually has a 3-second time penalty too, so I think Feisty Ted also has penalties, but you know, Feisty Ted's tyres are half the age of Surprise, so don't be surprised if Ted's able to reel him in. I mean, it really has been one of those kind of races where it's like, no disrespect to Feisty Ted, by the way, but remember when Takuma Sato in a Super Aguri overtook a McLaren of Fernando Alonso? Sorry, Ted, but in terms of pace over the piece, that would be a shock if you went past Veloci Surprise. We've seen everything else in this Grand Prix, and who's to say that won't happen because he's on 7 lap pressure tyres as Rosberg lines up P1R Brown.
Absolutely, it looks like one of those races back in 2008 where, of course, Robert Kubica won on that day, but it's just all the action that was going on around him. He managed to keep his head cool, and Rosberg is looking for an opportunity here to pass P1R Brown, and you feel he's going to have a right old go towards the final couple of corners. Let's not forget what happened a few laps ago with Brown and Rosberg at the final corner. This could be interesting.
Oh, here he comes then, CRL Rosberg, and I tell you what, you can hear the cheers from up here in the commentary box, because right below us is the Racing Point garage, and they are going crazy, because that's now 2 Racing Points in the podium places. Joe leads this race, but Limitless and Rosberg at the moment, Racing Point taking home the biggest haul of points of everyone. What a performance this is, and Limitless is catching Joe hand over fist at the moment, James, isn't he? He's flying out there.
Absolutely, it may be the sort of race where Limitless has got to force Joe into an error. And we're also, another little thing we're forgetting is Racing Point are now technically a Canadian-owned team, a Canadian team. So this would have been an even bigger result for them. Technically a home Grand Prix for them.
Yeah, and while we talk about Canadians at home, there's our Drelex back-to-back points finishes as things stand. He's having a quiet old race, but a steady one, and as things stand, he runs in 7th place and will collect 6 points, and that will please the home crowd as well, James. What do you think they'll be more happy about? A double podium or their actual driver in Drelex getting 7th? I'm sure that the driver takes priority.
Surely the driver, yeah.
Maybe not in Italy. Maybe not
absolutely.
Giovinazzi picking up 9th in Italy at the weekend, but certainly in Canada, I would have thought.
Absolutely. Italians are Tifosi and they are Ferrari through and through. They only support Ferrari and who's ever in that car. But we'll soon see what the Tifosi would have to scream about when Drelex says a Canadian wins the Canadian Grand Prix. It'd be some sight if he could pull off even a podium here. It'd be amazing if he pulled off a podium. It'd be something completely out of our predictions. I don't think we predicted anything really going into this, but certainly wouldn't have just crossed our minds at the beginning of this race weekend. And João Pedro has managed to get past Alphabal, and that's because Alphabal has come in for a set of soft tyres, I believe, or he's pitting again. Maybe pitting again. Here is Alphabal.
Yeah, it is a new front wing. It's been quite a peculiar strategy from Alphabal, to say the very least. Hards to mediums to softs. He wants to try every single compound this afternoon. Into the pits he comes, and he's left the session. Okay, well, that's a shame, because putting those tyres on would have probably got him an extra World Championship point. So, yeah, not going well for him. Langman's not here either. Sira's car's not here either. We're down to 8 runners officially in this Grand Prix. Can you believe it? I mean, let's be honest, if you're João Pedro then, I think it would be quite obvious at the end of this Grand Prix, into the pits, fresh set of softs, get an extra point.
Absolutely. P1 Brown once again sizing up Sarah Rosberg in front of him. Williams versus the Racing Point. This could be interesting again towards turn 1. P1 Brown's not going to be close enough on this occasion though. Sits in behind Sarah Rosberg. But yeah, you're right, Sarah Limitless closing the gap. Gets another penalty. So that's 9 seconds worth of penalties Sarah Limitless is on now. Which would mean he's going to fall behind his teammate Sarah Rosberg, I believe, but Rosberg has no penalty. I'm going to check the penalty situation actually, because I'm sure it's an interesting one.
Yep, sure thing, James. You keep us tuned in on that one, because I want to know how many warnings Joe's got as well. I mean, Limitless has racked up so many penalties so far, I don't think it's going to matter. But certainly it might matter regards to his teammate and P1 Brown, as you mentioned, because that could be threatening the double Racing Point podium situation, as P1 Brown is absolutely desperate to get himself back ahead of that Racing Point, because slowly but surely, despite on ageing tyres, well, watch the surprise is starting to reel them back in. Now 2 seconds gap. He's opened out that gap to Feisty Ted to 5 seconds, so unfortunately there will be no glory for Feisty Ted in passing the championship leader today, it would seem, but he's certainly gaining a surprise on this duel, so don't rule him out for a podium just yet, but Surprise himself has at least 3 seconds worth of penalties, I'm sure. So here comes P1 Brown round the final corner. Didn't get the ideal exit there, didn't get under the throttle as soon as he would have liked as he makes his way down the start finish straight. Is he going to be able to make a move? It would appear not. It's still Joe leading from Limitless and Rosberg. James, go on, hit us up. What's the penalty situation?
Yeah, penalty situation is this. I believe Rosberg's in the best position at the moment. Joe has got 2 warnings, but so has Rosberg. I'm only saying Rosberg's has got the best car at the moment though, because he is on those hard tyres that are 1 lap fresher than Joe's. That 1 lap seems to be the difference at the moment, and Rosberg hasn't got a penalty as opposed to Joe. Limitless, by the way, 3 penalties he's on now. P1 Brown has a 5-second and a 3-second penalty, so he's on 8 seconds worth of penalties. Veloce Surprise behind him, I believe, only has the 1 penalty to his name at the moment. Indeed he does. So it's all really to play for then for that final podium spot. But Sarah Rosberg is seemingly the man to beat for that final podium spot now. Yeah,
well, yeah, because now Limitless is just stretched it above 9 seconds, so he's essentially a 10th ahead of CRL Rosberg. I think Limitless will have to, just watch a little bit because he doesn't want Surprise to get within range. But if he overtakes these two, as P1R Brown now gets that move done on CRL Rosberg down at the braking zone for the final chicane. So P1R Brown moves up into that third place, and this ding-dong battle between this duo looks to continue on. That allows Limitless to stretch out the 9 seconds he needs a little bit further, so he's 3/10 up the road now. But I think Limitless's biggest concern is the pace of Veloci Surprise. Yes, Surprise is a penalty, but Surprise also has the pace to pass these guys, you feel at times, and then maybe make a dart up the road. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, the thing is Rosberg doesn't really need to fight anyone in front of him at the moment. So long as the gap doesn't become 3 seconds, he doesn't need to fight at all. He's in the best position. He doesn't need to use his tyres anywhere near as much as everyone around him. And that really leads him in really good stead to get that podium. But if he were to hold up P1R Brown here, actually Limitless could still finish on the podium. So that really does say the sort of pace that Limitless has been able to show on those medium compound of tyres that he's on, because he's on mediums as opposed to everyone else around him who's on a hard compound of tyre, and he is starting to prove his pace. Whether he can just last those tyres right to the end of the race, well, that may be the different story. But 9.7 seconds, the gap to him and P1R Brown. So really, sort of even Stevens on tyres for Brown and Limitless. 19 lap old hard compound for Brown. He's still got to do another 6 laps of this Grand Prix. So, he's not really in... he's not in no man's land, is Brown, by any stretch on those tyres. They could quite easily go bang, and the same could be said for Veloci Surprise, not too far behind.
20 laps on those tyres, and there's another 6 or 7 to go on to them. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do 27 laps. 26, I think I've maybe seen 26 once. But, I mean, that is, especially on a track like this, where the rate these guys have been fighting this afternoon, James, that is not easy at all. I've seen people do 26 laps and nurse the tyres, not have to fight, but dirty air. They've been fighting like crazy, P1R Brown and Surprise. Surprise is about to start fighting like crazy. So, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to try and stay out there? It's going to be tight, James. It really is.
They're going to have to calculate it. Rosberg's going to have to calculate this as well. Can he afford to get in a scrap with Surprise behind him? Me, personally, no, he can't. You just got to let him through, get on with his own race, I think. Because it's going to be a 3-second buffer. Can Surprise make it, though? That's the other sort of devil's advocate, I suppose. Rosberg could defend as hard as he can. It's going to be really close, though. Surprise getting right up against the wall of champions.
Yeah, if I was Rosberg, James, I disagree. I would defend. We know how good Surprise is, even on 21-lap-old hard tyres. Just keep him back. Don't want that gap to get up to above 3 seconds. I think the best way, in my opinion, to do that is to just keep him behind you. Personally, obviously, you don't want to pick up a penalty, though, and I think that's where you're coming from. Just keep it cautious if you're CRL Rosberg. But for me as a racer, I would just try and keep him behind for at least a lap or two, at least, and then let him go, and then just take it easy, because he's not going to do it in 2 laps, is he? So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. You're right, it's just squeezing that opportunity away from him. He cannot afford to give him enough time to make that gap up, and that's what he's got to do. You're right, he's got to defend like crazy, but he's not doing so much into the hairpin. This could be a chance for Surprise. He's going to take it in the Mercedes and then takes Rosberg down to the hairpin. Rosberg needs to get that switchback move, and the Racing Point has lost out there to the Mercedes of Surprise, and now he's got to hope that he can stay with him on those 2 sets of hard tyres. You would think it's going to be easy for Rosberg, but we know Surprise has got some incredible pace at times.
Yeah, especially when Surprise is on 21-lap-old tyres, but he's driving away from him. Look at that, Surprise is just driving away from him. He just gets something extra about him. It's remarkable how he does it. And, I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. He's only just over 10 seconds behind Limitless. Well, then again, Surprise is a penalty too, so that would be a mammoth effort to get within 6-7 seconds of Limitless. He won't do that, given the tyres Limitless is on. But it just shows you the character of Surprise. To disconnect, damage his wing, come back, and just continue fighting like this. I do still believe that Rosberg will be able to keep him within range, but, it will become a bit panic stations if Surprise gets away past P1R Brown, James, won't it?
It will indeed. Surprise has been really rubbing the barriers recently. I'm interested to see what his front wings look like. I don't think it's going to be too bad. But we've got to get this move done in a few laps' time. And Brown's deep through the hairpin. He's going to be losing so much time now as Brown. And really Surprise has got the perfect opportunity to size up and pass.
Yeah, here comes Veloci Surprise. James, there's a slight issue with your mic. Is it plugged in enough? It was a little bit crackly. Hopefully it's not too bad. But Here comes Rosberg now. Oh, sorry, surprise now. Into the wall there went P1R Brown. Front wing went flying. Was that off Surprise's car or P1R Brown's car? It was P1R Brown's car, and Surprise is through. I think Surprise got damaged too. He did. He did get damaged. P1R Brown hit the wall, got his own damage. Surprise couldn't avoid him, and he also picked up damage. So now CRL Rosberg, you would think, is pretty darn safe in that podium place. And the next question is, can Surprise and P1R Brown tippy-toe round to the end of the race without bouncing off a barrier, James?
Well, that's it now, isn't it? They can only hope that that's the way it goes. Rosberg doesn't need to attack Surprise anymore. He's just got to keep behind that Mercedes-Benz for the next 3 laps or so. It's really crucial then for Rosberg that he doesn't afford to get himself into any unnecessary squabbles with that Mercedes.
Yeah, quick update on the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It is VRL João Pedro at the moment on those mediums that will collect that fastest lap, 110.725, a fraction quicker than what Alper Ball did earlier. He's disconnected, so he won't be threatening it, but here we go now. Here comes CRL Rosberg. This should be simple. Surprise will not fight that, and through he goes. Rosberg back on the racetrack ahead of Veloci. Surprise into P3. Surprise though, he is not giving this up. He is an absolute warrior. And no, not this time. Through he goes. His feisty Ted picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, presumably corner cuts.
JD will finish second at the moment. That is all safe then for him.
Yeah, looks like safety for Limitless. I think he's been helped out a little bit with Surprise and P1R Brown fighting as hard as they have been. So Rosberg, you know, he might try a late charge at the end of this Grand Prix, but I think it's too late on that front. James, got to ask you driver of the day, but I think it's quite obvious. OMG, it's Joe. He's put in a perfect race. Everyone else, pretty much, has either been tripping over each other, picking up penalties, apart from he and CRL Rosberg. And I think you've got to hand it to OMG, it's Joe above all, because he has been phenomenal today. Probably one of the most complete, perfect drives I've seen from him in quite some time. You know, he's been quite scrappy on this game so far. He's failed to get into a proper rhythm at times. Can't say that about him today. He's been excellent.
I've got to say, you're right. This is actually maybe the most mature drive I've seen from Joe for a very long time. We've seen mature drives of him towards the mid sort of point of last season, where, or maybe not even last season, maybe the season before that, we were saying how mature he'd become. But we hadn't seen the win from him to show that maturity, and now he's really, this has just been, nailed the strategy, hasn't taken any unnecessary risks, known the risks around him, and really adapted and reacted to those changes as well. That is a sign of someone who is going places. He needs this sort of drive. He needs to show that he's got the pace when it matters most. When his teammate falls at the wayside, he has to take these opportunities. And for Joe, I would absolutely agree and say that he's been the driver of the day so far.
Yeah, he's putting in a fine performance, and he's only got one more lap at the end of this one to go. One more time, negotiating his way after that through that wall of champions and through that final chicane, and he starts that final lap now. OMG, it's Joe on his way to a fine result. We had a few issues in qualifying earlier. We're finishing slightly later than planned earlier on, but it's been some weather, a long wait, but it was worth the wait, James, wasn't it? We've had a topsy-turvy race. It's been great to see the strategy element thrown back into it with the championship contenders. Both hit trouble. We've had the two guys on the front row of the grid failed to finish. Snazzy was so unfortunate. It looked to me like one of the favourites for the race. Whether Joe would have held on or not, we don't know. Certainly looking at the gap Limitless has to Joe, it looked like Joe maybe would have had it covered personally. Again, we don't know as Drelex picks up a 3-second time penalty. You know, things went wrong for Kyle Mitchell, WR Verstappen. So many stories to take from this Grand Prix, but the one big story that we all have to take is that OMG's Joe has driven faultlessly this afternoon here in Canada and is on course for his first win in a long time. It's been a little bit of a, you know, broken up part of the season. He's been on holiday, he's not been here, but he's returning. He's finally finding his feet, finding his form, and he comes through the final chicane. It's taken 7 rounds, but OMG, it's Joe is back on form. He's back on the top step of the podium. He wins here in Canada with a very controlled drive. TRL Limitless is going to see the flag second. Even with those 3 penalties, it will remain second because there's such a gap to CRL Rosberg and so Veloci Surprise scrapping behind. It's a great day for Racing Point, who, as James pointed out earlier, are a home team now with Lawrence Stroll as team owner. It's a back-to-back podium on home soil for Racing Point was second and third, Rosberg third, Surprise a forgettable fourth, Feisty Ted an astonishing fifth. Does he stay there? Yes. Sixth for João Pedro, no, fifth for João Pedro in the end, due to fewer penalties. Sixth for Feisty Ted, seventh for Pimona Brown, and Drelex, the last man to see the flag in P8. A small cheer goes up because that's 4 World Championship points on home soil for VSR Drelex.
Absolutely, and a fine performance at that as well. And the first time this season that we've not seen Surprise or Sierra on the podium. It's the first time this season that's happened, and it's come at no better place than Canada. OMGSJ on the top step of the podium with, I think I may even be right to say this might be the first double podium we've seen this season. I could be wrong. I think Joe may have, I don't know actually. I don't know whether Joe has had a podium before this race. He must have done, surely.
Yeah, I think he did last time out, I think.
Oh, he did, yeah. That's correct. There you go. So it's not the first time that's happened. But nonetheless, he's won here today in Canada, and I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with that. Racing Point will be happy as well, because after that qualifying, I really did fear the worst for them. But they've managed to come back with a vengeance here. Joe wins the Canadian Grand Prix from Tiro Limitless in second place. He was very lucky to finish where he did. Some 19 seconds behind him in the end. That is crazy, the number of penalties he managed to accumulate. Rosberg finishes third. With Veloce Surprise, having his issues, to be fair, I'd say a solid drive from Veloce Surprise. After all the issues he had, the most he really could have looked for was possibly a podium, had he not got the penalty. Finishes in fourth. João Pedro with another fine drive, I'd say, as well, in fifth place. Also making the two-stop seemingly work for the Alfa Romeo team. Feisty Ted, I think, with one of the drives of the day in sixth place. Drove his own race, but drove it very well indeed at the Renault. He finishes sixth. Pimona Brown had his time in seventh. Drelex gets some points in eighth place, and then the rest are non-classified really. Alphabal, who had chances, tried to try every set of tyres he possibly could, bar the wets. Langman technically won't finish 10th. Sierra won't finish either. And then your final classification for proper non-finishers, snazzy evening, Reynolds, Mitchell, Verstappen and Zelchi all fails to finish this Grand Prix.
Yeah, James, a race of attrition, a race of drama, a race that kept you thinking on your feet with various strategies as well. And that wasn't down to the rain. It was just simply a race where strategy was key. One stop, two stop. And to be honest, James, I'm still none the clearer to what was the way to go, because everyone that was doing different strategies ran into their own problems. And, you touched on Surprise there, saying it was a solid day for him. I would slightly disagree and say it's a solid result for him. Maybe not the best performance. I don't think by his high standards he would be delighted. But I think as we wait for the drivers to join, I think we have to agree unanimously. I hate trying to say that word. That it was a clear driver of the day performance for OMGSJ.
Absolutely, it was. It really was just a great performance. So we're happy with that. Let's see who's actually going to join us. Some words, or else they probably, and Joe maybe not wanting to. Yes, he is. He's going to join us. That's helpful. I've invited everybody else, so we'll see who joins and when they join. But we may as well go to the race winners to begin with. So remember audio, as everyone likes to say. I'll get on with it, and you can listen to me rabble on for a bit. Joe's mic's messing up for a bit.
Okay.
And he won't be able to say any words for us. That's unfortunate.
Okay, well, Joe, if you can't, well, he's gone now. Well, if you can hear the stream, it'd be nice for him to maybe drop a wee message and let us know what he's thinking. But we'll hear from CRL Rosberg in a moment, who again came charging through to a podium. He really does love doing that. Well, I'm sure we'll hear from him in a minute. I'm sure Limitless will care to join when he ends up his stream in a moment. But, we spoke about Joe. As we said, James driver of the day performance. But once again, Racing Point putting in a fine performance at the top end of the order, and for the first time now, they've been knocking on the door, getting a double podium, James.
Yeah, it's impressive. We've said this at the start of the year, they're definitely the team to watch. If everything goes wrong for everyone at the front, they're, dare I say, what Red Bull are like maybe at the minute, or something like that, along those sorts of lines, really. They're that sort of team that you can always rely on at some races, and maybe other races aren't as successful. But anyway, they're on the podium, these two, and we've got the Racing Point drivers with us now, so that's a good start. Unfortunately, the race winner Joe has got alleged mic issues. We'll see if he comes back. He has come back. I don't know how good his mic's playing out. Joe, if you just say hello, then we know that you're actually there.
He sent me a message, James, so I'm quickly going to have a little look at his message and see if he's said anything about the race at all, and then we can move on to the podium, guys. He says, can you make the party open? Yes, I can do
It is
that.
open.
I'll make the part. Is it open? Okay. Well, if it's open,
Yeah, it's
then
been
okay.
it's a
Well,
mistake, Andy.
well, I don't know what's going on, but Joe's joining. He's leaving. He's in, out, shake it all about, do the hokey cokey, all that. Carry on. Anyway, just we'll go on to the TRL Limitless. James, take it away. We'll start with him.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go to JD, then finishing second here today, and after our race of attrition is the words we basically described that race. It wasn't maybe your cleanest race in terms of the penalties you accumulated, but it's certainly a race that you can look back on and go, well, you made the most of it, and you might get a podium finish at the end of it.
Yeah, first of all, well done to Joe. He made a really good strategy, made it work, and obviously Rosberg, awesome double podium for our team, so that's really, really good. For me, that really honestly feels like a win. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, this is my first proper race I've had with this new wheel, this direct drive wheel that I'm using. So it's using a load cell brake as well. It's a night and day difference between my old wheel setup. So I'm pretty much having to relearn how to drive again at the moment. And coming up to this track, I really wasn't really looking forward to it because historically it's not very good track for me in terms of pace or consistency. So I think even with my old wheel, I probably would have got that many penalties anyway. So honestly, I'm absolutely buzzing and actually over the moon with that result. So yeah, I couldn't really wish for any more, to be honest.
Absolutely. Were you always pondering strategies in your head? Because we saw in that race, it's one of the few races of the season where there's maybe 3 or 4 different options people have to just dice up their strategy. Do you have any real thoughts of the strategy? You were always going to put on the virtual safety car and say, if any safety car came out?
My plan before the race, I didn't get much time to prepare for it, but in the practice I could see people's tyres were going off after lap 5. I saw people in the chat that we have saying that you need to go to lap 10 or something to make a one-stop work, and seeing it was a 35 lap race and the pit lane is so short as well, you don't really lose that much time. I was always going to go for a 2-stop. I was actually going to pit that lap anyway for the medium tyre, so it was pretty lucky the virtual safety car actually did come out because it gave me enough time. I think if that didn't happen, I think Rosberg probably would have beaten me to P2, or someone else. I might have not been on the podium if I got the same amount of penalties. So yeah, pretty much came out at the perfect time. But yeah, before coming to the race, I was always going to do a 2-stop.
Well, absolutely. I mean, congratulations on second place. Must have been very eventful from your side. I wonder if we've got Joe with us now. That's probably the next question.
Yep.
Is he here? Is he there? Is everybody there? Right, he's here. Joe's here. Ladies and gentlemen, your race winner. No, anyway, Joe's managed to win here in Canada, and Joe, it looked. I mean, you did something no one else in the field did. You decided to qualify on the medium tyres, which maybe some people look back on and think, well, maybe against the top 10 on the medium tyres. I'm not sure if you were the only one to, but you must have just always had the fixed mindset you were going to do that one-stop strategy. You didn't really want to play around with the 2-stop. Was the one-stop strategy always the way for you?
Yeah, I was kind of set in stone on the 1-stop. People were saying soft to hard, and I was kind of like quietly confident when people were saying they were doing that, because I knew the medium was a much better race tyre. But then I saw, like, literally half an hour before the race that people were doing the 2-stop, and then I realised it actually could be quite a threat almost for my strategy. But yeah, I just had enough to like keep it out of the walls and not get in incidents. Yeah, pretty good.
I mean, I described it in commentary as maybe one of the more mature drives I've seen from you. I'm not saying anything about driving style or anything like that, but in terms of the way that you've just led from quite a duration of the race with the tyres that you're on and made the strategy work, which sometimes in the past maybe you could say hasn't been your fault, it may not have been luck or whatever, but today maybe just the consistency was on your side.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to put it, because that last stint, once I mainly saw Snazzy out of the race, I have no idea what happened. All I knew was, with JD having penalties, that I just had to keep out of the walls, do consistent lap times, and yeah, that's really what I did. Yeah, so you could say more mature drive.
Absolutely. I mean, congratulations on the win. It's a mighty impressive result, and prove on the podium once again. Let's move then to Dave, or Sarah Rosberg, in third place, and he always seems to find himself on podiums that he never expects to get onto. And every time we ask him on the podium, for any of you who are watching for the first time, oh, do you think you finish on the podium again? No, it probably won't happen. So you finished on the podium again here this season. I think this is your second podium this season. I think it is.
Indeed.
Yeah. But this one may be a little bit more unexpected than Bahrain, where you had great pace. I'm not saying you didn't have good pace this race, but a lot of it seems to come down to the fact that there was a lot of retirements this race, and that did sort of help you in the race. Would you say that was maybe one of the reasons it helped, or the strategy as well?
Yeah, probably. I mean, everything kind of, like, I think my whole race seemed to like flip on its head on like lap 22, because I think an Alfa Romeo came out the pits and he just let me and Brown pass, and I was like, okay, well now somehow I'm in 5th. And then someone else pit, and then Josh had disconnected and I went past him, and then next thing you know I'm in 3rd, and I was like, oh, this is a bit baffling, gotta be honest. But yeah, I think the strategy obviously helped. I mean, well, now that Joe's left, it is the strategy that Joe used to win. But yeah, like you said, I didn't think I would get a podium from 15th on the grid, considering I was kind of battling lots of laggy drivers, which wasn't exactly ideal, and just getting into sort of unnecessary fights and having mistakes. But yeah, no, I'm happy about that.
Sure you are. I mean, there's circuits coming up in on this calendar. We always go on about it. That's well, circuits like last time in Monaco must have been absolute hell for you. But races coming up in the future. I mean, you think you're there or thereabouts. Do you actually, start to have a bit more confidence? Because this isn't the first time you finish on the podium this year. Okay, maybe this time Friday the 13th has sort of played a bit of vice versa role with you, but it seems to be the way that you're able to be in the right position at the right time. Would you say that's a fair comment?
Yeah, I think this whole race was sort of based on you had to be at the right place, right time, because like throughout my race, there was so many people just crashing. I had Sira I don't know what happened, if his teammate seemed to like just stop on the track, but he blew up right in front of me. Then I made a mistake at turn 1, and Langman, who I was in a party with, I told him not to overtake me into the next corner, and then he was getting bombarded by Zelch and Alpabal. So if he had got past me, my race probably would have been destroyed. And then I was fighting Brown and Surprise for the podium, and then they crashed ahead of me. So yeah, I think probably Bahrain was a little bit more of a deserved podium, but I mean, it's racing. You've got to take it as it comes. It's a great result for myself, for my championship, for the constructors as well, with JD getting 2nd. Overall, I think it was a fun race, so maybe I'll be on the podium a little bit more legitly.
Well, I'd like to see on the podium a lot more as well, and congratulations on 3rd place. Andy, just weird race, really. It wasn't quite the drama of Spain, but it certainly lived up to the billing. There was a lot of very unusual incidences that happened, a lot of crashes as well. That's something that we don't often see in this league, but a lot of incidences that involved cars losing front wings, people losing tyres. It was very unusual in that sense, but a race of attrition, and one that we'll probably remember for a while, because it was first time this season. The surprise was Sarah's finish on the podium.
Yeah, well, I think it was classic Canada, really. It really was classic Canada. You see it in real life a lot. We spoke about it in commentary, like the 2007 race. We had Sato in a Super Aguri passing Alonso in a McLaren. Big crashes, lots of incidents on the racetrack, front wing, as you say. And we had a lot of that today. We also had a lot of strategy element too. And we've seen that as well in real life races in Canada, particularly before the current phase of tyres, when it's they're quite durable as well in real life. It was a really enjoyable race in that sense. I just felt it was a shame that at times today we didn't see all those strategies come together at the end to see which was the best one, because I don't think as viewers we actually found anything out, because so many different people had so many different problems. But in general, I enjoyed it. Joe kept his head, and I have to totally agree with what was said earlier. It is probably one of the most mature drives I've seen from Joe in a while. He struggled at the start on this game. I feel like he's been trying too hard at times, so I'm pleased for him to get off the mark and get that result. Again, great day for Racing Point. Superb job. picking up the pieces. The pace wasn't phenomenal today from either of them, but again, they delivered. They were competitive, they were strong, and they got the podium. So it's looking good for them going into the next stage of the season. JD will be looking to improve on that wheel. Rosberg, 2 podiums now, pushing on, and again coming through from further down the order onto the podium. So things looking good. Everyone in the podium has got a reason to be happy. And yeah, I enjoyed the race, and we now move on to the next one, which I believe is France, is it? We're off to France next? Yeah, I think we are. That's usually
France,
round number 8. So yeah, enjoyed the race today. And we now move on to the French Grand Prix. Things didn't quite work out then for Veloce's Surprise, but his title rival faltered even more. As you said, James, neither of them on the podium, but Sira got no points. Surprise managed to bring home 12 points in P4. Can he then extend the lead? Can Sira fight back as we head to the French Grand Prix next? Be sure to join us next week at 7:30. I won't be there. I'm sure James will be there, but we'll see you guys next week. Au revoir.